Hey, Harold.
Well,
What's
Jill,
up? Happy Friday.
happy Friday. Happy Friday. It has been,
Memorial Day weekend.
I was going to say it's been a long week. It's been a long, 3 months.
Yeah, right? Right? But it's good to be here today. Good to see your face again.
It is great to see your face again. And we've got, let's see, give it a couple seconds for everybody to come on here.
We have an exciting group today.
We do. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started because we have a ton of content. So good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday before the holiday Memorial Day weekend. And hopefully everyone is safe. They're going to have some opportunity to have some fun. My name is Harold Batiste. I lead our sales operations here at HPN Global. Thank you so much for joining us for another State of the Industry update. And this is where we bring together a diverse audience, and it may range from a meeting planner, it may from a meeting planner to a hotelier. And we've done these webcasts over the last month with the goal of giving varying degrees of insight and perspective on how we as an industry are navigating through these uncharted waters. We're going to have some fun today. I've got a we have an outstanding panel, but I'll tell you, it's really fascinating just how fluid this pandemic has been. We were together on our last webcast, and our discussion focused on getting back to the business of meeting again, right? And many of us had a hard time, kind of even envisioning that. And it's been only 2 weeks, and it seems like that, Jill, it may have been a little bit of a pivot.
Absolutely.
All 50 states are now in some phase of reopening. Many hotels are reopening their doors. I saw where the Omni Champions Gate in Orlando
Yep.
is I think they're reopening today.
Mm-hmm.
I read where domestic airlines this week, they've had over 500 flights a day depart, more than 70% full. So I really feel like the narrative is now not about necessarily turning to the new chapter we spoke about last week. It's about, hey, all right, how do I as a hotel, how do I as a meeting planner, how do we get ready for that next pre-con, that first opening reception, that first general session? It's now about getting down to the granular aspects of, okay, I've got a meeting coming in July, August, September that I need to prepare for. What should I be focusing on? Where are my blind spots as it relates to executing the meeting and what the people are saying is the new normal? So we've got a great panel of friends that are joining us today. Back by my side, as always, we have the lovely Jill Dasher, our SVP of Meeting Services. Hello, Jill.
Hello, Harold. So happy to be here again today. Excited to have this conversation, ready to move forward.
Yes, yes. Also joining us is the man, the myth, the legend, Mario Bass, who is the Vice President of Sales with and experience with Visit San Antonio. Good afternoon, Mr. Bass.
Good afternoon, Harold and Joel. Glad to be here. Thanks for letting me be a part of this conversation.
Great, great. Also really fortunate to have really a legendary leader in this industry, in this space. We have the lovely Lisa Messina, who is the Vice President of Sales with Caesars Entertainment Group. Good afternoon, Lisa.
Hey, Harold. Hey, Jill. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah, we all are.
Got that right.
We all are. Trust us. Then last but not least, I want to give a warm welcome to Yaron Lipshitz. And Yaron is the CEO of a company that happens to be a new HPN Global strategic partner called AllSeated. Now, AllSeated is this revolutionary digital platform that allows planners and hoteliers to visualize an event before it actually happens. And he's got some really cool groundbreaking virtual tools to do that with. So welcome, Yaron. really excited to have you with us today.
And we'll get back to him.
Yeah, we'll get back to Yaron here in a moment. He'll join us, and Jill and Yaron will get some good bouncing dialogue around some virtual platforms. So speaking of our audience, again, thank you for joining us. We've just had the feedback has actually been really awesome. And so we're glad that these webcasts are beneficial to you. So as always, we'll always have our Q&A. So you see our Q&A to the right side there. Please ask the questions. And we will be sure to save some time at the end to get into some good Q&A dialogue. So Mario, you lead the sales and marketing efforts of one of the premier meeting destinations in the country. And I think you have over 14,000 hotel rooms just in downtown San Antonio alone, right? I think you have a 1.6 million square foot convention center. Give us through your lens how your hotels are preparing for that first group arrival. What are the common blind spots that you're seeing maybe planners have as they work to get to that
Sure.
program?
Harold, I think at the early stages, right, we're all trying to figure out what's next. What do you do next? And I think we've rallied pretty well as an industry in terms of laying out the guidelines of what reopening would look like once we were allowed to reopen, in terms of cleanliness, safety, those type of items. In fact, I think we're now at a point where it's almost too much information in terms of this organization has their guidelines, this one has theirs, whose guidelines do I follow, all the above, to where it can get a little bit overwhelming. But if you look at it holistically, it's all saying the same thing, right? It's predicated upon safety, wellness, cleanliness, as well as social distancing. Now, the other piece or point to be made is that as guidelines, they are guidelines. Until you have something that is formal from a federal, state, or local standpoint, as meeting planners, it's a guideline. What is the guidance that you want to follow for your particular meeting? You're going to know what the risk level is for your attendee and their comfort level. And that'll lead a lot of the conversation at the end of the day. So, from a DMO standpoint, it's our jobs to rally what the destination is doing and being the liaison between all the information that's out there, not only for the hotel partner, but also for the meeting planner, and try to make sense of it and put it in a easy to access portal that is for sure ever changing, as you alluded to earlier, just because the situation is changing by the minute. Making it easily accessible and to the best of our ability, even as a DMO, to help define, articulate what those guidelines are and those ordinances are. And full disclosure, some of it is us working through it and, believe it or not, guessing as much as everybody else is, but digging a little deeper to help just better understand everything.
Yeah. We've done, like I mentioned, we've done several of these webcasts, and, our kind of first one that we did was really just to understand, we had all gotten punched in the face with this pandemic here. Where are we? And we at HPN Global, we went into full kind of contingency mode of executing what we've called this lift and shift. Yeah. And so that's March programs, that's April, that's pretty much May. Now we get into this kind of June, July, August, the rest of the summer. So we've now, at least on our side, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this, we have created kind of two buckets. We created the June, July, August. So the summer bucket, and then we have kind of the fall bucket, and starting in September. And for the fall bucket, the expectation our hotel partners have is that, depending on the state, now the states are, again, all 50 states are moving and reopening, right? Yep. But our hotel partners' expectations have said, hey, we plan to host your meeting in the fall. I think there's a summertime is where kind of the question marks come, and that's where we still have to hold our lift and shift kind of hat on. So just from San Antonio, you've got big boxes there. Again, what are your sales leaders telling you, and then what are you hearing from the client standpoint?
Sure. Again, high levels of uncertainty, especially as you get into the July, August time period, right? For us here in Texas, there has not been any formal guidance given by the governor in terms of actual reopening as it pertains to mass gathering. No more than 10 people can meet. But we do anticipate that by June 1st, that will change, even though it'll be much like other states that have reopened at limited occupancies.
Yeah.
Part of it is taking what we're working on right now, or what can we do, right? And again, we could go into great detail on it, right? You have the hotel plans, for instance, of Marriott and Hyatt and Hilton, all around cleanliness, doing things differently. By the way, we're a pretty clean industry well before the pandemic.
Right.
That's kind of how we made our living, right? We're going to be even cleaner coming out of this thing and safer. But at the end of the day, there's all those details and touch points, and how do you go touchless, and where is the comfort level of the traveler, and building that confidence in them to get them back on the road. I know Lisa's probably going to go into some details on what her organization's doing, so I don't want to steal that thunder per se. But in the same breath, it's again predicated on safety, wellness, cleanliness at the end of the day. But what I'm also telling, meeting planners, and more so the meeting planners that I'm talking to, and we talked about this earlier, Harold, holding a meeting right now is like getting married or having a kid. If you're waiting to be ready for it, you're probably not going to do it. There's going to be, even with all the guidelines that are out there, that every destination you can assume, including the airlines, every organization, industry that's associated with the meetings business has a plan in place. Feel confident with that. I think what we're trying to get our heads around is, when does it open, and what are the guidelines to opening? Not the cleanliness guidelines or the social distancing guidelines. We all know that. We've all been on webinars or these type of settings right now to know what those are. But it's really just trying to get our heads around, what is the date you can hold a meeting larger than whatever that is for your state, 10 for Texas right now, and then what are the occupancies that building can open up to. And I think once that's settled, that's probably 60% of the anxiety associated with holding a meeting right now, because the rest of it, again, I could monopolize this entire hour together going through each detail of what each hotel is doing, and it's everything that we know about the plexiglass at check-in, the social distancing, the elevators, the UV lights within the air handling to prevent any of the virus from spreading.
Right.
And so forth. But it really is a situation of it. We're in it together. The hotels are going to do their part. We're going to help the meeting planners to the best of our ability understand what's out there. But it really is going to be, it's not just one organization that's going to pull this off. And there's going to be a leap of faith for that one program to go, that we all look at it and go, okay, that's how it's done. Nothing happened, albeit maybe at 50% of the anticipated historical attendance, but they had a successful meeting. I too can move forward. And I think that's why everybody, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, everybody's saying, hey, the leisure market's going to go. And I think you're seeing it this weekend, Bill. You have some stats on that where there's pent-up demand for sure. I know I'm ready to get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
Lovely home, but I want to go. And I think that's what's going to happen.
We're already seeing it.
So I'm going to bring Lisa in as well here, because I want to pivot to her a bit. But You know, Mario, you hit it on the head. Listen, I think I said this on our last webcast, is that leisure travel is going to be the springboard to us getting back to corporate travel. And it's going to take that meeting owner, this decision maker, it could be a CEO or an executive director who has had cabin fever, right? And have said, you know what, it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to take my family to the beach, right?
Yeah.
And they are going to then come home on Sunday or Monday with the mindset that, wow, okay, beaches were packed, restaurants were open, hotels were full. Maybe we should move forward and have that meeting. So that's what I really see. I talked to a resort this morning here in Florida in Amelia Island, and they're running this resort's running 73% OC. And literally just from an experience perspective, because they're still bringing staff back, they've capped it. They could have sold out, is what what this person was telling me. So this is what's going to be the generator to get us back to, I think, to travel. So Lisa, and thanks for that, Mario. And I want you to stick around with us here. Lisa, I look at Caesars Entertainment Group. I look at Las Vegas as an aircraft carrier, right? That was, did it run aground with this pandemic or not? But and now you got to get it restarted, and I'll kind of pivot to you with some of the same questions. Now that we're getting granular here and we're looking for those nuggets of X's and O's to arm not only hotels, but also meeting planners, how do you restart that aircraft carrier like a Caesars Entertainment Group or Entertainment Corporation or Las Vegas?
Well, thank you for asking, Harold. And you're right. You have to keep in mind that Caesars Entertainment alone has 9 resorts and 29,000 hotel rooms and almost 2 million square feet of space just in the Las Vegas market. My team oversees 40 hotels nationwide, and we've already had good reopenings in places like Auction outside of Phoenix, the Harrah's Cherokee outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and we're opening up to very strong demand. To your point, that the leisure guest has the ability to make a decision whether or not they want to travel, and they assess their own confidence and comfort level with doing that. And so we've opened some of our regional properties to astounding and better than forecasted numbers. So that's great. Here in Las Vegas, as you know, our Caesars Palace is its own city. It's 4,200 rooms, countless restaurants and things of that nature. So between the governor of Nevada and our CEO, Tony Rodeo, they're doing everything to make diligent decisions that in the long term will ultimately take care of our guests and our team members. So while we would have loved to have been open for Memorial Day weekend, frankly, with most of Las Vegas traffic coming from everywhere else, we weren't ready. So our governor will probably go on. In fact, he's talking to the Las Vegas Chamber as I'm on this call with you about moving Nevada into phase 2. We had openings of restaurants last week in Las Vegas. We'll open more retail, shopping, and other services here. He's supposed to announce starting tomorrow. That's where they address the group sizes of 250 or less. That's the current stipulation. Gaming, unlike hospitality, we're in a different bucket. So even though Nevada moves into phase 2, hopefully tomorrow, will be addressed separately by the Gaming Commission. We hope to hear about that soon. Caesars Entertainment is taking reservations as early as May 29th. We suspect we'll get our green light to open Caesars Palace in the Flamingo on June 1st. And then in phase 3 here in Nevada, we'll address groups larger than 250. So, it's baby steps. I have to laugh a little bit about, COVID in general, because most of the recommendations around sanitation and safety. Do you remember the book, Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, right? So stay home if you're sick, right. Cover your mouth when you sneeze. Like, this is not rocket science. And those that are tasked with the difficult decisions of assessing the risk tied to COVID, they're learning new things every day that are going to support consumer confidence to get us back on the road. And so a great example is many of you, I don't know if you wiped down your Amazon boxes when they came to your door, because we thought that the coronavirus you could get the virus by touching boxes. It is true, and the CDC published it yesterday, that they thought initially that you could contract it by touching it because it does live on surfaces, it does live in the air. They've retracted that. And these are the types of things that are going to evolve every day as the scientists do their job. And so, to Mario's point, we've got guidelines. And those guidelines are on the strictest knowledge we have today, and they're going to continue to evolve, which is going to give our event organizers, our properties, all the more confidence to take those next steps forward.
Yeah. And that, it's so interesting. What we were talking about ahead of this, Lisa, was there are so many organizers that are at that place where I'm ready to start planning again, but I don't know how to move forward. Right. There are all these guidelines. How do I work with my hotel or my venue to start the planning process? And so what we're really looking for today is those granular, details to help them. Like, how do you start? You and I have talked about roadblocks. We've talked about duty of care. We've talked about so many budgeting, all these things. So if you had your crystal ball, where do you tell those organizers, this is a great place to start? If you want to start talking to your, decision makers, start here.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, yes, we as a supplier, as a hotel, as a meeting space, we have a duty of care to ensure that our team members and our guests have the absolute best environment that keeps them safe and secure. The organizers of events do as well. And as you've probably seen in your personal lives, the three of us may have different levels of comfort. Right. And so it's really important, a couple of things. One is that the planner, Mario addressed this, you should know the facts, focus on the government sites of where you're planning to meet next, where you're contracted to meet next. Use federal resources such as the CDC. Don't always trust what you read in the news, because it's not always factual based. The governments through this process have done an amazing job of telling us what the laws and regulations are compared to the recommended guidelines. And so look at where your next contract is, look at where your desire for your next meeting is, and ensure you know the facts about what the federal and state governments will allow. I think the second thing is sit with your senior management team. What are you looking to achieve, and what is your level or tolerance for risk? You're going to have buckets of people. You're going to have those that can't wait to get back to your event because it's probably a place that they do business, meet a new client, hire a new team member, whatever the notion is. You're going to have those that are, on the fence, and they're making a decision based upon when and what the information is currently readily available when it comes time to register. And then you're going to have those that just don't, feel comfortable yet. And that's okay. I know we're going to talk later, Jill, about how to keep those folks engaged. Okay. So what is your level of risk? Because that is where duty of care comes in to say, okay, do we want to have this meeting or not? And let's have a plan around how we engage those that don't want to come. How do we take care of those that may still feel a little bit nervous? Pre-event marketing is going to become a huge piece here, making sure that they know what you as an organizer and your chosen supplier is doing to commit to their part to provide a safe and secure environment. And I think the traveler themselves, going back to everything I learned in kindergarten, they have a responsibility here, right? So, absolutely. Putting out surveys to say, what is your comfort level to come to a meeting in August or September? Putting pledges on your registration site to say, I, Lisa Messina, if I'm going to attend IMEX in September, I pledge that I won't come if I have symptoms or I have a fever. I'll wear a face mask. I'll socially distance. I'll ensure I wash my hands and queue up 6 feet apart from the next guy trying to pick up his badge at the registration desk. These are types of things that seem very simplistic, but putting a plan together and kind of walking through the steps will help us get closer to being ready to meet.
And we've also talked about, I think all four of us have had the conversation that we can put all the guidelines in place, but we also realize that humans will be humans and do what they do. So we can put the little buttons, or where the spot you have to stand in front of a desk. We can move people and put them in the chairs they're supposed to be in, but they will get up and move. People will do what they do. So we have to have some grace around and some flexibility around, people will move through space and do what they need to do, right?
You must have been at my grocery store the other day, because my grocery store is doing everything that they should, and people are not necessarily following the basic rules. But to your point,
Yeah,
right.
So Jill, I know you've got a series of questions that you still want to dive into, especially with Lisa and what she's doing there at Caesars. But I wanted to bring Mario back and ask both you and Lisa, or Lisa, you and Mario. We're talking about meetings that are already contracted, and how are they going to execute, whether it be the summer or whether it be the fall, right? And Mario, I'll start with you. Let's move the conversation before we come back to some execution kind of phases. Let's move the conversation to contracting and what future contracting for future meetings will look like. Because on our side, we're still booking meetings as much as we're trying to handle some of the lift and shifts. Our clients know that, well, I still have to book my 22, my 23, my 24. What's changing now that we're seeing kind of the backside of the tornado that Bill, our CEO Bill has said now? What's changing in the contracting moving forward? What are you seeing in San Antonio, Mario?
Yeah, though unprecedented, everything that we're going through, right, it's still a crisis. And much like after any crisis, all the conversations, how do I protect myself? How do I mitigate the risk that's associated with meeting in any given destination? In the short term, you'll see a lot of destinations that are offering no attrition, meetings booked. You would have to assume that that's probably going to parlay into the existing groups that are on the books. That's part of the conversation. I think the other conversation we're having is, what does my force majeure should look like, right? And we're all in this together, right? Is where we're at. So, as much as an organization's trying to protect themselves, hotels are reading that force majeure and saying, hey, can I live by that? We've used the term, the new normal, obviously to death. I actually stopped that because if this is a new normal, we're not going to have an industry.
Right.
Our industry was never predicated on social distancing. There was already rooms to space issues, ratios that were in play well before the pandemic. And now you're going and turning a 100,000 square foot ballroom into possibly a 50,000 square foot ballroom. It's just not going to be there. So I think it's important to know that, or make note at least, that the conversations we're having today are probably feasible for the short term, meaning 2020, I think. And everyone say, and I get it, well, we're not going to be out of this. We're not going to have a vaccine by the end of the year. Totally get it. But there's a point into 2021 where all these great ideas that we're doing, social distancing, in particular, it's just not going to be feasible in a convention center of any size. Hell, Lisa's hotel is a convention center, bigger than mine. You could have 4 or 5 groups at any one time. How do you social distance with what's already been contracted? Right. I think there's going to have to be a realistic lens, and I've seen some of the comments popping up about floor plans for, instead of a 3x6, a 1x6. And it's some of those conversations, I know for us in San Antonio, as cumbersome as it may be for the meeting planner. It's on a case-by-case, one-on-one. You're almost redesigning the meeting over again, because there's no point in having social distancing, charts on your website if you can't execute against them.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is you can do anything with a ballroom if you have the entire ballroom. You could do anything with the exhibit, but you may not. And I think that's where you're having to look at it. And then I think that, my last point to that is every organization, meeting planning team knows, again, what's important to their, and what's important to one isn't important to another. Hopefully still coming in July, and that demographic, I could tell you, it's COVID, what? Like, that's the least of their concerns. They're wondering, hey, where's the bar at? Now, conversely, I have one coming in October, and you better know that there's going to be a 6-foot parameter around each attendee for the entire meeting. And those are totally different interests, two totally different groups. So you got to just around what you know.
So it depends on the demographic. And Lisa, I would love to just hear your perspective again on contracting for the future year programs. I saw a question pop up that addressed, I don't have my same hotel contact that I had before. And I tell you, us here at HPN, we've been filling that gap if our client has lost, whether it's an NSO or a GSO to some type of a furlough, or whether it's temporary or permanent, or same at the hotel level. We've been filling that gap to help our client, but to also help the hotel partner. But just from your perspective, just future contracting, talk about that in your hotel in Vegas.
Absolutely. So our organization is still working full time. I'm blessed to say that our new contracts have exceeded our cancellations. We have customers who are eager to get back to business. I mean, keep in mind, what is the value of meetings? I probably am an association that puts off a marketplace that brings buyers and sellers together. And that commerce doesn't happen without a trade show or an event. I could be a company that or a corporation that has a need to train and educate my folks so they can go out and sell my products. And one might argue in the short term that every industry has been hit at some level, but people are very eager to get back to business and make up for the losses. And you do that through meetings. So as we're contracting, in the short term, we're being highly flexible. So let's say you're already contracted and you're trying to come in the next, week to, a year. We're being highly flexible. We want you to meet. We want you to be safe and secure. We want to support your business, and that supports ours. We want to get team members, our employees back to work. For future years, we really haven't seen a change in RFPs as far as the rooms to space ratio for 21 and beyond. It's really been a short-term thing. And I think Mario's spot on that you have to be wary of these folks that are suggesting to go out and block, 60% more space, because you're going to box yourself out of a tremendous bucket of suppliers who used to be able to host you. And frankly, you're going to put yourself out of commission for them. So if I'm a, typical non-casino hotel, and I normally would sell my 25,000 square foot ballroom for 500 rooms on peak, and now you're coming and you want it for 100 rooms on peak. To Mario's point, I can do that in the short term as we work through this together, but long term, that's just not sustainable for my business or frankly yours. Right. So we're being very flexible. We're pricing based upon demand, which clearly demand is down right now. So we're looking at all of those things. We're looking at alternate clauses when they make sense, and if they support the customer wanting to have some level of, again, confidence in being able to not be held accountable if something like this were to happen in the future. We don't want that either. We're not in the business of collecting cancellations and performance, right? We're in the business of servicing our customers. So we're going to be highly flexible. And I think most customers saw this through the Great Recession. They saw it after 9/11. And then when demand goes up, everything will rise with it, but we're not in that place today. So highly flexible is the answer.
And Lisa, I think one of the conversations we had that I thought was really interesting, you talked about for your organization, and your clients, you have to look at what is the business objective and the financial, goal of that.
Yes.
Because what makes sense, before might not make sense today. So how do you address that?
Absolutely. So we work with you as the client to say, let's say you're an association. I've got one coming up at the end of the summer that brings small business owners who buy into franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So they buy into franchises that we all, visit, McDonald's, Chipotle's, Jimmy John's, you name it. Those businesses were, badly hurt. Investors that buy those types of businesses were badly hurt. They have a absolute business desire to come together and figure out what's new, what's next. How do I personally invest to get my business going? And what's the right franchise that's going to be around tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Now that organizer has a difficult situation where they have to assess how many of those suppliers, meaning the folks that exhibit the franchises that are for sale, how many of them are in a place financially to come, and then how many of the buyers that I'm bringing to that marketplace want to come and they have to assess that. Can they operate at 50% attendance, or does it not make sense for them to run that event? And I'm shocked how many organizers, when I ask, like, what's your break even? They don't necessarily know that. So planners, in that same senior management meeting, when you're assessing the risk, ask that question, like, hey guys, what does it mean to break even? At what point do we make money or break even, or it just doesn't make sense to have this meeting? And then we'll sit with you and space that out. And I know you're going to talk to Yaron later. We use a little bit of a different tool. After this call, I'm sure Yaron will call me to make sure I look at his tool closer. We'll sit down and diagram with you. What does an exhibit show floor look like with reduced capacity, with reduced exhibitors? We'll work that all out with you, and understanding that your rooms to space is probably going to be off compared to what you've historically done, but we've got the flexibility to work with you right now.
And tying in that piece of technology, we've all talked about going forward, we're going to see hybrid events, probably a smaller footprint, but having the technology to bring in audiences that wouldn't be able to otherwise. And we see that going forward, beyond just the next year or two. We really do see that. So, being able to leverage technology to help, financially offset the meeting and to bring in revenue as well. And so I think it's, it's a curious place to be, because we do know, yes, it's a smaller footprint. We are going to be adding technology. How do we support that technology from the organization, from the host hotel as well? So.
Yeah. And I think that, when people think virtual, they think of the attendee who's not in the space with you today. I can tell you, we're talking to customers because we've got this cap of 250, right? So how do you produce an event for 1,000 people? Think alternatives. People just have this black and white mindset. Oh, there's a cap on events greater than 250. That's true. So what if you took the ballroom, threw up the air walls, and you have 4 rooms of 250, and you use technology to connect that environment, right? That's one answer. I think that mostly the technology sector gets this. I think that they learned years ago and produced the very tools we use today to engage the audience that's not able to be there in person. You're going to have that for a while. You're going to have that bucket of people who don't feel safe. I think where customers get jammed up is that they worry about how to monetize it, how to afford it in my budget, and how do I ensure engagement so that that person that might be sitting in, in their home in Oklahoma City feels part of the environment that they're missing out on in Las Vegas, that they retain what the learnings are from that event. So that's where they get challenged, and that's where they can reach out to us. They can reach out to you. We can connect them with our technology partners and other customers, and they can help roadmap it for them.
Absolutely. And we're always happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to do this. I want to pivot a bit. So first of all, Mario, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Your perspectives are really, really valuable to have, and we're certainly I think, very fortunate to have you both as partners, both San Antonio and Caesars Entertainment. I want to pivot, and I want you to stay with us, though. Stay with us. We'll kind of park you for a bit because we're going to get to Q&A, and we may need to bring you back before we close. But I want to bring in Yaron and have him talk a little bit about AllSeated. And I'm actually going to pivot to Jill to have her kind of lead that conversation. But Yaron, I got to tell you, I am stoked about this new partnership with AllSeated. I mean, this is going to be earth-shattering for HPN Global, for hopefully your company and our client base. So thank you for joining us. And Jill, I'm going to have you kind of lead here.
Yeah, and thank you,
Yaron.
Yaron.
Jill, thank you.
You know, we see that the AllSeated is uniquely positioned. And what is so interesting to me is how you've been able to pivot in the midst of this experience to kind of make your tool really relevant for all planners and hotels. So what I love is, I think the first time we ever talked, you said, we help virtually create socially distant spaces. And so planners can virtually see spaces, and venues and hotels can virtually sell spaces. So we're all used to diagramming, and we know how to now diagram 1/6, but we don't see it in real time in that space. So what I really want to see is, how did you pivot? I want you to talk about that. And really, how do you visualize those events? And literally, I think it took us 37 seconds when we demoed it. And we demoed for Caesars, and it was literally 37 seconds, and it's 100% to scale. So I want you to talk about that because it is very exciting.
Absolutely. So thank you, Jill and Harold. Really a pleasure to be here, and really value your partnership, and really exciting to start talking about opening up. AllSeated is an event planning platform, and really the core value of the platform and kind of where we excel is the ability, as you mentioned, to visualize events before they happen, literally in seconds. That's what it takes. We do have an operational tool, as you mentioned, that's kind of the floor planning and the diagramming things that, as Lisa mentioned, you could use other tools. But a couple of years ago, we started basically coming out with tools that took that floor planning, took that diagramming capability, and built on top of that the visualization. So 100% to scale, and making it photorealistic so that you can actually see your event coming to life. And this is really, over the last couple of years, it really got some traction. When the pandemic hit, this was really a huge aha moment for us, because suddenly all of the industry said, oh my God, we need to start selling our venue virtually. We need to sell it remotely. We don't even have access to the venue. How can I give that to my planner? How can I give that to my client? How can I show them the space? How can I prove to them that everything is going to look good, it's going to fit, it's going to be to scale? And then we had the added complexity of, now there's the social distancing tool. I hear, Mario, I don't know if it lasts for a few months or, more than that. Definitely when the vaccine is going to come, that's going to go away, I'm hoping. But right now, to get things kick-started, we had to get the developers, get the product, and really come out to the market with an amazing product that lets you do that. So today, if you will, one of the key things, and I think Lisa talked about it, Mario talked about it, you guys talked about it, is put on your client's head, right? How do you inspire confidence in, with your client, with the corporate planner that actually needs to have the CEO sign off and say, you know what, I think this is fine. I'm okay with that because it's going to work, and I can see it. Right. So how do you do that in an environment where you need to kick things off? This is kind of where we help.
No, and what we saw when we demoed the platform right away was, for those planners that have to go back to decision makers and show them exactly what this is going to look like and how it's going to work. Because it is virtually in the space, you see the columns, you literally see everything. And you understand how the event will flow so much differently than just looking at a diagram, which we thought was fascinating. You and I have a belief that technology will play a big part of everything we do going forward, from meeting planning all the way forward through the event. So what do you see on the roadmap ahead for, virtual and technology components of meetings?
Sure. So I think that technology here, our technology and virtual technology in general, is really here to help the industry. It's not here to disrupt the industry. And I agree 100% with Mario and Lisa and everything that you guys said. You know, the value proposition of having physical events, in-person events, that's not something that can be done on Zoom, with all due respect, right? This is just not going to happen. The question is, can we do those events? Can we plan them more efficiently? Do we have to get on a plane to do a site inspection? Well, today with AllSeated, you really don't. You are inside the space. You and I were together inside the space, and we were collaborating with communication, with video and everything. And there's just absolutely no need for me to spend 3 days of my life going into the Caesar's Palace to look at it if I can do it virtually. So I think that if you look at all the stages of the event life cycle, anywhere from today, getting that decision, right? Making sure that I can inspire confidence in my client, all the way through how do I do the selection of my venue? I don't really want to get on 5 different planes and look at different venues and possibilities. If I can do it remotely, if it's 90% of the way there, probably going to make more sense to me. All the way to planning, right? How do we now bring all the stakeholders of the event, the planner, the venue, the client, the caterer, everyone can be inside and plan this thing virtually. And I think also, to your point, Jill, I think that the hybrid is definitely something that can help the industry, because if I do an event and someone can join, or I want to expand my reach, this is a revenue opportunity for the venues. This is not going to eat my business. It's a revenue opportunity. So all those things, when you think about them together, are things that where we see that technology helping the industry, and the industry is embracing it now more through necessity, and the rate of adoption is actually accelerating. But I think that even, not to pound that new normal thing, but even after the new normal goes away and there's a real normal comes, that stage, we can still benefit from that technology.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Harold.
Yeah, man, this is, so, and you're on with where I really see this really to be great. And you mentioned a little bit about it, but, I'm a client, I have a meeting that is scheduled, either in San Antonio or at Caesars for, August. I was scheduled to have a pre-planning site visit with my CSM, in late May or in June, right? The AllSeated technology can fill that gap to maybe you don't have to come out for that pre-planning. And now you begin to do it virtually. So really excited about the technology.
One of the things I loved when we did our demo is being able to look at the space, and we were putting chairs at tables that were at socially distanced parameters, but by playing with the table and the spacing, we could figure out how to maximize the space and what it would look like. It was absolutely fascinating. So,
and the trick is, as I think Mario mentioned, I think the trick here is that those rules not rules, but those guidelines change by the day. So what was, maybe 8 feet, 2 days ago, could be 6 feet tomorrow, could be something completely different a week from now as things evolve. So we could certainly accommodate all those things. And it's, obviously it could be by state or even county by county, depending on the level of the pandemic there.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Jay. I was just going to say, I wanted to be conscious of everyone's time here and move to some Q&A. And Yaron, one of the questions came up is AllSeated also have the ability to work internationally as well as domestically.
Absolutely. So we have presence right now in Europe. We have offices in the UK and Germany and the Middle East. So we definitely have those, and we can facilitate. Really, it's all about virtual communication, remote communication. We can certainly facilitate that.
Great. We really appreciate you joining us, Yaron. I'm going to move to.
And I just want to say one thing before we jump off. Yeah. We know, all good. We did set up an email, which is allseated@hpnglobal.com as well. So in case, you can always go to Yaron's website at allseated.com. However, if you want additional information, just email allseated@hpnglobal.com. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there as well.
Great. Well, I'm going to breathe a little bit because it's freaking Friday, right?
It is Friday.
And but man, the ton of questions here. So I'm going to just breathe here as I go through. It's interesting. Before we even brought Yaron on, you know, there were questions about, you know, how do I know now, you know, if it's a I think this question here is if it's a you know, if it's a 15,000 square foot ballroom that's originally contracted for X amount of people, you know, how do I quickly find out what it would look like if I now change my 3x6 to 1x6? And again, that's all seated, right?
Right.
Let's see here. I'm just scrolling here. Apologize.
Nope. Let's grab some good ones.
All right. So I've got one question here as it relates to, again, they're all about capacity charts. And I'm just going to ask it. And maybe this is, again, another deal that AllSeated can solve here is, you know, how do you get the revised capacity charts for each hotel? And, you know, Mario, if you're still with us, I want to bring you back because I think this is interesting.
And grab Lisa too, because I think Lisa has touched on this as well.
Okay, we can grab you both back. Come on, we have.
Come on in.
We have the technology. Yeah. You know, one thing that is very intriguing is we know that this is a tough time. You know, staffing levels at the hotels have been cut. We hope it's all temporary, right? But if I have a program that's scheduled for September, how are you all hearing and handling in your individual respective destinations or hotels, making sure that client can touch base with someone at the hotel to talk through their program, whether it's a BEO or they want their rooming list or they want their pickup or something to that effect?
I can start there and toss it over to Mario if that's okay.
Great.
At Caesars Entertainment in the markets of Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and Lake Tahoe, we have our executive directors of catering convention services still working. You know, we produce 10,000 meetings and conferences, 15,000 meetings and conferences a year. So we're not just laying off those people so that we can come back crashing and get ready for August. Those folks are working now because we know the planning timeline will be longer than it used to be, right? So all of our my convention services catering counterparts are working, and they are working today to plan BEOs for you, talk about what our guidelines are. They're open for suggestions too, by the way. So, you know, this is new to everybody. We hired a consulting firm. We had an epidemiologist on staff. We've produced guidelines that we feel are proper for our facilities. But the dialogue with our clients to say, hey, I saw this in the market. Could you do this too? Doing the diagrams, talking about, is it buffets? We're not doing buffets for the foreseeable future. So what does food and beverage look like? How long should my breaks be now, since I have to have a plated meal versus a buffet, and I'm going to queue differently for the restroom and the registration lines. So our CS professionals are working through that every day right now with our customers.
Yeah, along that line, Harold, in terms of being able to, and it can be frustrating, right? Everybody's doing more with less, no matter what part of the chain you're at. But at the end of the day, it's our job, specifically as a DMO, to be that liaison, right? So weekly calls with our hotel partners. We know who's going to be the point of contact. And to your earlier point, that changes from week to week. So it's important for us to have the calls weekly so we can be that point of contact to bridge that gap at the end of the day and make it as seamless as possible for the customer. So that's how we're handling it in San Antonio.
That's great.
Great. Just making sure I've got my next question here. There's many that have come up. Mario, with here's one. Mario, with air travel and your airport, what has been done in the San Antonio airport to, if you had a chance to, and I may be catching you off guard, so feel free to punt.
Not me, Harold.
But if I know you, I know that you can handle the question.
I will be okay.
Yeah. Have you tracked lift into San Antonio, and do you feel like that flights are going to come back kind of the way they were before?
You bring up a great point. It takes about 2 weeks for any airline to get a specific route back up and running. 2 weeks notice, right? So that's the good news. You know, I know for a lot of the meeting planners out there, it's okay, great, everything's clean. But in terms of the tactical, how do I get my folks from point A to point when, you know, it seems like everything's shut down? No more than 2 weeks once they know what that route that needs to be reignited, if you will. With that said, we're having, again, part of the job role of a DMO is conveying to our particular airport what is happening in the marketplace. Leisure, right, is one conversation, but equally as important when you're talking about groups that are going to be meeting in June, end of June, July, August, keeping our contacts at the San Antonio International Airport aware of what size is a group, where is the attendance, what is the registration, so they can constantly be in communication with the airlines so that they're planning accordingly. So that's been a big portion of it. You know, again, going back to the new norm, I don't want to harp on it. I think with money, you can do just about anything, right? You know, all the airlines are coming out marketing, no one in the center aisle. Well, you can do that because 5 people are flying on an airplane. Eventually, when this gets back to business, you're going to have a middle seat filled. That's how the business model is. Sure, you can have it exclusive and you can take rows out and do all that, but then that flight that was $500 is now $2,000. It's not practical. It's just not something that is fun. But you know, in my conversations again with the airlines in my role, I think short-term plan, and then it's okay. What happens when we get truly back to what the normal course of business is?
Yeah. Lisa, how about Vegas? I know you've got Caesar Entertainment, and you know Mario obviously has the entire destination, but I mean Caesar's is an integral part of Las Vegas. Any update from just Las Vegas Airport? What you're seeing as far as, or what you're foreseeing? I mean, right now you're in that kind of turning to that new chapter mode, and we're looking forward to reopening, right? But what do you foresee from the Las Vegas Airport and getting your clients there?
So McCarran is our airport here. We're a major hub for Southwest Airlines. When they produce their data, the data is in arrears by almost 60 days. So when they last reported, we were at 47% capacity through March, and that was only the beginning of COVID. But all indicators are that we're now at about 57% capacity, meaning the flights are coming in, but they're about 57% passengers coming through. McCarran is doing everything much like major airports across the nation that are following the guidelines of the FAA, and that's what'll help customers with confidence that airports are not independently owned. They're federally owned, and so hopefully you'll see consistency as far as queue lines through TSA, the hand sanitation, queue lines to board the planes, et cetera, so on. So McCarran's no different. They've posted all of their regulations online, and then they too tag back to what the individual airlines are doing on their flights. So very positive.
Great. Well, I want to move to close us out here, and Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we are on the backside of this what we call tornado here, for lack of better words here, and we'll travel again. We'll be in Vegas again. Mario, we look forward to seeing you in San Antonio and anywhere else in the world that we typically run into you. But thank you both for joining us, and a big thank also to Yaron. We're going to see a lot more of you in AllSeated. And thank you guys. And Jill, how about you and I just for some closing remarks here?
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we will meet again, Harold.
We absolutely will. You know, there's one question that came in. I thought it was interesting. And, you know, should clients and I say clients, should meeting planners have any hesitation of booking 2021 meetings? And absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if you should right now either have your 21 meeting booked or you should book it ASAP for a litany of reasons. And number one is availability.
Compression.
I mean, Jill, how many programs have we shifted out of 20 just in the last 3 months? You know,
too many to count. And even on the full service side, you know, we have an incredibly full calendar in 2021. You know, we aren't seeing client hesitation really, you know, beyond summer, fall. So we have a very busy calendar, and I don't think there should be hesitation. I think within the next couple of weeks or months, you'll see that things have shifted again. And I think that should bring that confidence back. But it's absolutely the time to buy now because we've not seen a lot of availability.
Yeah, and you know, because the smart thing to do when you had a program in 20 and you wanted to either cancel or move it, you know, we had clients telling our clients telling us that, well, we don't know what the future is going to be, but you know, we need your help, HPN, to kind of get us out of our 20 contract. And our advice, you know, first of all, we're going to be transparent and very candid with our consultation, right? In our experience, a hotel is going to be much more apt to deal with you on mitigating a 20 program when you have something tangible to hand them. Okay.
Right.
You know, I don't want to come in 20, but here are dates and I'm ready to commit to coming in 21. I can guarantee you the deal you walk away with for whatever the result is of your 20 program is that much better. So,
and we are still seeing summer programs shifting to fall, not out of 20, which is super, you know, that's encouraging, right? That they've chosen to stay in the year and not abandon 20. So that is encouraging.
Hoteliers that are on here, just like a ton of meeting planners. But if you have a 2020 program need in the year for the year, you are going to get the deal of a lifetime. You're going to get contract terms of the lifetime in terms of probably no attrition, no cancellation, or something very close to it. So don't give up on 2020. And if you have to, you got to come to the table with a future program in hand and future dates to move that program to. So
absolutely. It's Friday, Harold.
It's Friday.
We just get to the weekend.
All right. It is officially the weekend. Thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again. Have a safe, if nothing else, have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And we'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Thanks all.
Bye.
Bye.